In this podcast, we review the IPL, we select our dream team 11. We also talk about the England West Indies series and also mention the moment of the week, that is Michael Hussey's birth.
Hello, folks, and welcome to yet another episode of the Cricket Hotspot podcast. This is your host Sarthak, recording here from Toronto with my co-host Parth.
How are you doing, everybody?
So this is episode number 22, and another important fact or an interesting fact related to episode number 22 is the most 10 wicket hauls in Test matches is 22, and no prizes for guessing the bowler. It would be Mr. Muthiah Muralidharan. The only bowler to take 800 wickets in world cricket. Exceptional bowlers. He has, I think, 67 or 68 odd 5-wicket hauls and 22 10-wicket hauls, and that's by far the highest by any bowler. The second best being Shane Warne, who's at number 10. So
quite expected.
Exactly.
Quite expected.
But the Gulf wasn't. I mean, imagine Muthiah Muralidharan taking 22 10-wicket hauls and the next best being Shane Warne at 10. So the gulf was quite wide, but again, that goes on to show the greatness of Muthiah Muralidharan, and he picked up wickets in bulk.
Yep, certainly.
This we come to you after the 2-month-long extravaganza that the IPL was, and we have finally a new champion for us. CSK does not win it for first time in 3 years. What are your thoughts on KKR's victory? A deserving victory?
I think the most stable team in the IPL won. I'm very happy about it. Chennai Super Kings brought it too close to comfort for KKR. Shows the class of a team like CSK, who knows how to play the big matches, as they have played the last 3 of their big matches very well. But KKR really deserved it, and I'm very happy for the team, because I find that they were thoroughly embarrassing to IPL in the first 3 seasons, but the 4th and the 5th season, after they have spent the big bucks on their 3 big guys, real good moneyball thinking, as they say, and they have really picked a team which has sort of gelled together, and you have the results in front of you.
Absolutely. I was really happy that KKR won. I was actually rooting for them. Not for any bias against CSK, but just that I thought KKR was the deserving winners for this season. And Chennai definitely raised their game. They are a champion team, and as we've known for the past 2 years, they have performed when it matters the most. This year, again, they had a lot of luck going their way for them to make it to the playoffs. But after they reached the playoffs, they absolutely demolished Mumbai and Delhi, and there was absolutely no two ways about that.
Yeah. I mean, you bring Dhoni into the crunch match, you bring people like Raina, they have to perform. And I think cricket is the law of averages, where if you haven't performed all season, surely you'll perform one time or the other. And it was great to see some good fight in the sort of qualifying stages from.
And who knows better other than Murali Vijay?
Yes.
Always seems to bring his A game when Chennai is at the biggest stage,
yes.
like semi-finals or finals.
Last year was the final. He scored 95 against Royal Challengers Bangalore, and this year against Delhi, he thoroughly demolished them. Obviously, they actually did not have this strong 3-pronged pace attack, but we'll talk about that when we do the full review.
Absolutely, we'll come to that a little later. But what's your overall thought on the IPL this year? Much closer and much more interesting, you think, compared to the previous seasons?
I think, if you were to ask me, as a person who wasn't a big viewer of the past IPLs,
oh, I know that
this IPL was one that drew me to it, and it wasn't. And I'm not one to go for all the glitz and the glamour and the Bollywood of the IPL. I go for the cricket, and I think the fact that I went and I got attracted to it say something about the common viewer who is actually in for the cricket. And it was probably the best contested IPL and the closest IPL I have seen, and I would say best cricket. And one thing that I really liked about his IPL is that as the IPLs are increasing, the gap between the talent of international players and the local players is becoming narrower and narrower, and this is something great about the IPL. If you take fielding standards, batting standards, there is no shot, say a Raidu can't play, which which a player like AB de Villiers plays. So it's something very good to see, and I think that's what the IPL was made for, and it is doing its job.
Absolutely. It's really heartening to see the performance of a lot of domestic players who have stepped it up when their team needed them the most. Biggest example, Manvinder Singh Bisla, a little-known wicket-keeper batsman in the domestic circuit, absolutely stepped it up at the finals in Chennai against Chennai, which is an intimidating place for any player.
Nothing to take away from his efforts. I found that Chennai's attack this year was probably the weakest that they have had since. They don't have the likes of Flintoff, who played for them in the second season. Even like other players who have been a backbone of their attack haven't bowled that well. I would say he played well. He played amazingly well, and the lack of Ashwin's form really helped his case to score a big ton.
Right, it's fair to say that it's not so much the lack of quality bowling attack rather than the lack of form of that bowling attack that made the difference.
Yeah.
So eventually, as we said, KKR deserved winners, and congratulations to them. And I know a lot of people who must be going crazy right now in Kolkata and enjoying the victory, and I mean, well deserved for them.
Yeah.
The fans have been staunch supporters, even though Ganguly left, and you know how big Dada is in Kolkata, and they've stuck by the team. Some people have actually.
I think it's very hard for a fan to not stick by the team when team is doing well. It's when the team is not doing well, it's tough, and that's when you need people like Dada to attract. But when the team is reaching the actually semis and stuff like that, it's very easy.
Right, so coming back to the point, it shows how good this season of IPL was when you actually talk to people who don't watch cricket. Because I know a few friends of mine and my friends' friends who have absolutely no idea what cricket was, and they took up to watching cricket just from IPL. They were browsing the TV sets one day, came across this exotic new sport. They're like, okay, might as well watch it and find out what it is about. And you won't believe it, but a couple of people actually ended up watching most of the season, and they have their own favorites, and they were really taken up by the game. It's really interesting because people like us who watch cricket will watch it irrespective of the entertainment, irrespective of what game is going on, and watch a Kenya-Netherlands match would also be watched by us. But people who don't watch cricket, it's where you have to reach out to them if the game has to go global. It's the people who are not following the game as much as we do. Those people have to take it up. So great advertisement for world cricket. Actually, I'd say.
I think more than that, it was the last ball and last over finishes that really attracted people to the IPL this year. And I think one thing that is very synonymous to the format of T20 is close matches, and I don't think there were enough close matches, say in IPL 4, than actually there were in this year's IPL, and that is to be contributed simply to great cricket.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the other finalists, the other teams that made it to the playoffs, beginning with obviously our runners-up, Chennai Super Kings. Absolutely off their radar, I mean off the boil in their initial part of the playoff stage. Came back well to win a couple of matches when they needed to, but still their results, I mean their position in the playoff was guaranteed by other teams. What's your take? What were they missing this year?
I think they paid money to players that actually did not perform this year. Likes of Ravindra Jadeja was paid too much money. In the amount of performance he gave, it was completely out of proportion. And it's the fact that they were not the same Chennai side that we see. Chennai side, okay, the actual side that won the last two matches was basically the same side that has won the actual last two IPLs. It was when they introduced the likes of Yo Mahesh and these young kids it just didn't look like the same Chennai side.
You can't blame them, though. Actually, they needed someone, and some of the replacements that they had were actually much better. They helped the team win. Say, for example, Faf du Plessis. If he hadn't stepped in Michael Hussey's shoes in the initial part of the tournament, Chennai wouldn't be nowhere. Like, they wouldn't even have made it to the playoffs with the other team's help either. So him being there actually made the top order a little more solid. And it's really sad that he didn't get a game to. I mean, he didn't get games after Michael Hussey came back. But a player of Hussey's caliber cannot be left out on the bench, and he proved it with important performances in the playoffs against the big teams. So, yes, the replacement players did do well, but I do get your point that the team that won the last two playoff games was the one synonymous with the team that we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
And yes, it does bring the familiarity back. But I think during the initial part, a lot of those players were not in form, and that made a lot of difference. Say Ashwin, Murli Vijay.
Form was a big issue, and I think Indian T20 team would be heartened by the fact that Dhoni has found this touch which was lacking for the last year and a half or so, I would say. And I think it was just amazing to see him bat the way he did in the last two matches. Raina also was a bit streaky, but he played well. It looked like he found form against the best bowler of the IPL, I would say. It was just great to see the way that they fought back. But it was sort of sad for me to see the kind of games that they have played in the past, the way they have played.
It's always good to see Dhoni coming out with the intent to attack. He's been guilty of being a little too restrained of late. I mean, I'd say in the last 2 or 3 years, he's been a little too restrained. Yes, he has shown flashes of brilliance of what he used to be, his old long hair days, how he used to be back then. But I've always enjoyed watching Dhoni, and I always think he's more effective when he's all-out attack. He's aggressive in his body language.
When the helicopter shot comes in, when the bowlers are actually fearful of him, not when he gets dominated by any pace bowler. And I think it was really good to see on that occasion.
Exactly. Let's talk about Delhi Daredevils, our number 3 team. A lot of people actually thought even before the tournament began, they would go on to win the championship. They did really well in the playoff stages, finishing number 1, and that's no mean achievement. I mean, if you have out of the 10 teams where the difference between the first and the 9th team was, out of 9 teams where the difference between the first and the 8th team was probably 4 points or 5 points during the midway stage, and coming out on top against such a quality opposition, it was a very good achievement by Delhi, but they somehow just seem to lack to make it at the big stage.
Let's just say Delhi's team was created to play at Firozshah Kotla. It was not created to play at any other ground. 3 fast bowlers, no decent spinner. I would say the reason why they were number 1 was because they were actually perfectly suited to play for that ground, as well as maybe say Mohali or some other ground like that, but not say a Chennai, not like a Bangalore or something like that, where pace bowlers get whacked. I mean, you get a good beating, and I think their one weakness was the spin department, and that was the reason why they lost the playoff matches. And I think they would have to really look into it and who to recruit next year. Leaving out Amit Mishra was probably a big mistake on their part when they actually made that decision.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely true. I mean, there was one weakness of theirs which will always haunt them, because a lack of a quality spinner on slow and low Indian wickets, it really will come back to bite you, because if you don't have someone to take care of those 4 overs, and if you want to fill it with part-timers or even say pace bowlers who are good but on pace-friendly wickets and not on the slow low Indian wickets, they will get hit. And I think everyone has been talking about it, but the biggest tactical blunder during the second qualifier game against Chennai was leaving out Morne Morkel. A big surprise to a lot of people, and I think a lot of people have said it, obviously, and I'll repeat the fact that was probably what cost them the match, because leaving out Morkel in favor of Andre Russell, definitely not. I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do that myself, but Morne Morkel hadn't performed well in the last 2 or 3 matches. His form was sort of dipping. He was the highest wicket taker, and just on that fact, he should have played.
Whatever the case be, he cannot be left out, because the thing is, he will definitely, no matter how bad a day Morne Morkel has, a player of that caliber would not be
as bad as
say what Russell and this Varun Aaron had. Like between the three fast bowlers that day, they had 12 overs for 120 or 130 odd runs for one wicket, I guess. And
That's pathetic.
That is really pathetic. And if your top bowlers are going for that much, there's no way you can win the match. With Morne Morkel in there, he would have stemmed the flow and maybe got you a couple of wickets.
At least those Yorkers would have actually worked in their favour.
And I think the balance of the team would have been much, much better had they gone further and probably taken out Ross Taylor in favour of Van der Merwe.
Yeah.
Rudolf Van der Merwe, as we said, they need a quality spinner. Van der Merwe might not be the answer of a quality spinner, but he's definitely a decent bowler, a very smart bowler in this format. He's played a lot around the world to understand the different conditions, the different demands of the format. So Warner, Jayawardene, Van der Merwe and Morkel would have been my choice of the 4 overseas players.
And also the fact that Jayawardene was not in prime form. Warner, though he got 100, it didn't look like himself. It wasn't the Warner that we saw in Champions League last year. It wasn't even that 100 wasn't as free flowing as what we have seen from him in the past. But Delhi really where they lost was on tactics. They had the players to win this IPL, but they lost on tactics. And I think they would really have to look up. They have to really do a hard look on themselves and then come back next year.
Absolutely. So for next year, I think their task is cut out. They need to find a quality spinner. Moving on to
Ajmal maybe.
Oh, we never know. Let's talk about future of Pakistan players in a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the fourth team to make it to the playoffs, Mumbai Indians. With that quality of players and with that experience on your team, you would expect a team like that to be in the top 4 for sure. But a little higher than a 4th place finish would be at least making it to the finals. Because, I mean, if you have 6 Indian players out of the 7 who played for India at the international level, there's no excuse for you not to be winning the tournament.
I think it's quite ironic that 2 of their squad players are from the '99 World Cup semi-final in Rhodes and Sean Pollock, that they have choked numerous times in the IPL.
That's a little harsh.
I would say Mumbai Indians were a team that were lucky to be in the playoffs. They did not. Their batting was horrendous, I would say. Only the likes of maybe Rohit Sharma, Pollard sometimes, Raidu nearly always in that team performed, but the rest, the batting was pretty bad. You cannot reach quarterfinals and expect to win if you don't have a decent batting lineup. IPL is all about batting lineup. You can only win so many matches with your bowling. Ultimately, it's your batting that has to fire, and it didn't for them.
I think a lot of factors worked towards their bad performance, if I would say, put it that way. First and the foremost, lack of runs by Sachin Tendulkar. One big factor. I mean, no matter...
But his injury, he didn't play for the first 7 or 8 games of
He missed 4 games.
4 games, okay.
Right. Played the first game, missed 4 games, then came back for the last 8 or so. Except that one innings of 75 against CSK, he did not look himself. I mean, he played a couple of good shots and he would get out quite uncharacteristically to a shot he wouldn't otherwise get out to. So that really hurt, coupled with the fact that their opening combination wasn't settled.
Until the end, I would say.
Till the end.
Until the end.
That one thing really led to the downfall of Mumbai Indians, because if you cannot take advantage of the first 6 overs, you've lost half the game there.
I think they really need to find a decent opener. Maybe Gibbs should have played more. Maybe a proper opener should have been there who has seen Indian conditions and who has played in Indian conditions. Do you think Raidu to open would have been a good choice?
Might have been a decent option, but I would have played Raidu in the middle order. I think he's more suited for the middle order. Although in the domestic circuit, he does open for Baroda.
Yeah.
And he's done a wonderful job for them.
Yeah.
But think in that team he might be suited more for the middle order, but they could have given him a try and seen how he does. I think one game he did.
I think he did open, and then he got stupidly run out by his partner or something like that, and that's not a fair way to judge an opener.
I think last point that I was trying to make.
Probably he was their player of the tournament, in according to me. He at least won them 3 matches on his own performances, which I don't think even say like of Rohit Sharma or anybody could have actually boast of that fact.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the important cogs in their wheel, responsible for bringing them to the playoffs, along with Rohit Sharma, I would say. But again, one person that if you had it had to come down to one person, all of it. It would be Harbhajan Singh. His place in the team ahead of Pragyan Ojha was not justified.
Was not at all. And I think the fact that he took the captaincy was like Daniel Vittori taking the captaincy for the Bangalore team.
He's a fighter. He has an aggressive body language. He'll lift up the spirits. Fine, accepted. He's a better batsman, accepted.
But you need to have skills first for you to be able to win the game for your team.
The primary requirement is the best person at that position should play. And I think if you had to select between Pragyan Ojha and Harbhajan Singh as your lead spinner for the team, Pragyan Ojha should make the cut. A player of his caliber not getting enough games and not playing all 16 games, I mean, I was really surprised.
Yeah, me too.
So that was one area that they'll have to deal with before the next year's IPL, because they need their lead spinner to be taking consistent wickets or at least stopping the flow of runs.
But I highly doubt Harbhajan Singh would leave the Mumbai Indians team.
There's no way he's leaving, but at least they have to reevaluate whether to play him or when to play him. So we'll see about that in the next IPL.
So we like this IPL, but we like this product to improve and be more competitive. What changes you think can be brought to say future editions of the IPL?
I'm quite okay with how the game was played this year. With the number of teams reduced to 9, I think there was a lot more competition.
Yes.
Since only the cream was selected and there was a lot of I'd say fringe players were removed, making the matches more intense and more interesting, because the top players were fighting it out on both the sides. And there were no teams with, say, lower quality of players or just quantity over quality kind of thing. So it was really, really interesting to see that. And I think I'm quite okay with the format as is right now. If in the future they plan to increase the number of teams, then it might be a good idea to have, say, different groups or different leagues, sort of like a north and a south versus, or just random draws between Group A and Group B. Just to make sure the matches are not too repetitive and the tournament is not 3 months long kind of thing.
Do you like the size of the IPL now?
I think it could be trimmed a little more, although, I mean, we're getting entertainment, so we won't complain. But I think there is definite scope of trimming the tournament a little more by at least a fortnight or so. So a month and a half would be a good idea rather than having a 2-month-long tournament.
Yeah, 1.5 months. And I think having more sort of 2 matches in a day, increasing that, because some of the matches you found that were just one match a day got a bit boring. Like if that match is not that great, the ratings of that day go down, and it just...
But that's all to do with, again, the TV ratings, right? You won't have 2 games a day on a Monday because you won't have people to come out and watch it at the grounds.
Well, people did come and watch on this.
That's why they only had 8 o'clock games. If you have 4 p.m. game on a Monday evening, you hardly expect anyone to come. So that's the thing.
I was thinking, how about increasing the international player quota, because there were a lot of very good international players sitting on the bench. Does that do IPL justice? I mean, does that do them justice?
There was a lot of quality sitting on the bench, yes, agreed. But from what I see, I think I'm quite okay with the 4-player cap, because that allows the remaining 7 Indian players to perform. And let's not forget, it's primarily an Indian Premier League.
I actually have a question on that fact. I mean, why do we consider IPL a primarily Indian thing? If you want to get acceptance from the world, you be ready to give the world something. You be ready to entertain the world and have the world's players play in it, not just have the four international players meeting your strategy play in it, which is something that has not fair of the IPL organizers to ask of the world.
I think it's quite okay. I mean, I'm quite okay with 4 players playing per team, because that makes sure that, again, I'm coming back to the same point of saying that the other Indian players are getting an opportunity, and as you mentioned earlier, that the gap between international players and domestic players is narrowing by the year. And we'll probably hoping that we'll come to a time when we won't see a big gulf between domestic players and international players in their commitment or in their approach to the game and their skills.
But would the world take to this league more if they had more international, just one more international player in the team?
I don't think so. I don't think it will make any difference, because the people who are going to watch tournaments will watch irrespective of how many people or how many overseas players per team are playing. And it doesn't make any difference for the overall viewers for the increase in number from 4 to 5 for the overseas players. In fact, I think there was a lot of talk in between about Pakistan players coming back to the IPL next year. If that is the case, I would suggest that probably having one more franchise to go back to the number 10, have an even number of franchises, and then have those extra players come in, and they'll have more slots for them. So players who sat on the sidelines for this year will probably can be traded or go back to the auction for next year for that 10th franchise. And if in the future they plan to increase the number of teams even higher, I mean, there's always scope for that. If you have 5 international players playing, and if you set a precedent now, then there's no way you can increase the number of teams to that size and still expect quality to come in.
Yeah, although I do find that the world doesn't actually accept IPL right now, and I think it is IPL's duty, if they ask their board's players to come and play for them, it's their duty to make sure that the IPL becomes a global product. Because say if like right now there are 4 players playing in the IPL from the West Indies Cricket Board could immediately slot back into the West Indies team. And if you're asking so many players to play for your IPL league, you should be able to give them something more and make it a more global tournament.
Yeah, but just picking on that example and going forward with it, I mean, a lot of West Indies players played. Most of the players who would have been in the West Indies squad ended up playing for the IPL teams. It's not like they were sitting on the bench. The point being that it's eventually coming down to the player's choice. Sunil Narayan would have had the option of going back and playing for West Indies, or taking up the Kolkata Knight Riders contract and playing for them for the IPL season, and he chose the latter.
Famous.
And he chose the latter. Yeah. And I mean, that not only increased now. His performance in the IPL not only increases his value in the IPL, but on the international circuit, he'll be more in demand. Even with the board, he'll probably get a little more respect, a better contract, if anything, if he's to be centrally contracted. And it eventually does help out the player. Yes, your country might be sacrificed at times, which shouldn't be the case, and I'm totally against that. But again, eventually it comes down to the player's decision, what they want to do. So even if we have 4 players or 6 players in the team, if players want to be playing IPL over anything else, they will continue to do that.
Next year, do you think the Pakistani players will play?
It will be very interesting if they do. I think there's been certain thaw in relationships between the two countries,
yes.
And we could definitely look forward to seeing the Pakistani talent coming to the IPL. They already are part of the Champions League as of yesterday, which is the 27th of May. They have been selected. Sialkot will be representing the Pakistani contingent in the Champions League T20. So very, very happy to see that for them, because I think they are one of the T20 powerhouses in the world, and a lot of talent, a lot of T20 talent in the country.
And having the best spin attack does not. I mean, it helps them to able to be more marketable to the IPL teams. The likes of Ajmal, likes of Afridi would be actually very, very much in demand for Delhi and Mumbai, and so
Exactly. I mean, having an Ajmal in the Delhi Daredevils lineup would totally make them unbeatable after that.
yeah.
So yeah, pretty interesting to look forward to Pakistani players joining the IPL again, and we'll see how that goes.
Yep.
So to wind up the IPL talk for this year, we will be doing our own IPL 11 from this year's performances, and hoping a dream team of this IPL could play someday the overall winners of the trophy, and we'll have another exciting match to look forward to.
Yes.
But that's all in the future. But let's talk about what I think my dream 11 is, because Parth has certain different opinions on some of the players.
Yes.
So we'll start with mine. So opening combination, it was sort of Chris Gale is pretty straightforward pick.
Well, you cannot have an IPL dream team without
Chris
having,
Gale. So
having-
that's a no-brainer.
yeah.
For my second opener slot, there was a toss-up between two players, Virendra Sehwag and Ajinkya Rahane. Both of them performed exceptionally, and I chose to go with Virendra Sehwag over Rahane. Very heartbreaking for Rahane to be missing out on my 11, but I go with Sehwag on this one. It's just gut feeling over anything else.
What's the gut? I mean, he's kind of not playing, actually playing. So
It's
why-
gut feeling that when Gale would be opening with Sehwag, both of them would be performing. And imagine what a destructive opening partnership that would be, Gale and
Yes,
Sehwag.
Yes.
One down would be, number 3 would be Gambhir, and he would be the captain of my team as the overall results of the IPL show. Very consistent batsman.
Great captaincy, by the way.
Beautiful captaincy.
Great
and
captaincy.
if an early wicket falls of either of those two explosive openers, he can come and steady the ship. At the same time, keep scoring at a good pace, which is the most important facet of Gautam Gambhir's style of play. He keeps scoring at a healthy pace without playing risky cricket. So my number 4 was again an overseas all-rounder slot, which was a toss-up between quite a few different players. I had Jacques Kallis, who played exceptionally well for Kolkata Knight Riders. There was Azhar Mahmood, who did a very decent job for the Kings 11 Punjab. But eventually I chose to go for my overseas all-rounder slot with Shane Watson. Unbeatable talent there, very good batsman, and a very handy bowler too. And any sort of conditions, he showed in the first year of the IPL, single-handedly sort of winning Rajasthan Royals the crown. And again, I mean, exceptional all-rounder in all sense of the word. My number 5 batsman would be Rohit Sharma. Again, sort of a stopgap arrangement. If anything goes wrong, Rohit could come in a little earlier to steady the ship, or he could also provide the finisher's role and take the team over the line, as they did a lot of times for the Mumbai Indians this year. Wicketkeeper in the team would be Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Again, I chose to go with an Indian wicketkeeper or an overseas to save me an overseas player slot. So Dhoni, again, he came to his own during the final stages of the tournament and the playoffs, which was very heartening to see.
So a team, so what basically you're saying is that a team that has Dhoni and Gambhir takes the captaincy.
Yes.
Okay.
On this one, I would have to go with this for this year's IPL.
Interesting.
My number 7 slot was the most contested because I had to fill an Indian all-rounder in there, and there was a lot of decent performances, but no performance or no player who would actually stand up and be like, okay, yeah, that is a player I have to have on my team. So there was a toss-up between Irfan Pathan, Yusuf Pathan. Of course, you can tell I'm from Baroda. There was R. Ashwin, who would play as my all-rounder if need be, because he could provide a second spinning option. But eventually, I chose to go with Ravindra Jadeja. Now, I might get a lot of flack for this selection. I'm not a big fan of Jadeja, let me be clear
Certainly
on that.
from my side, you will get a lot of flack on that.
So let me be clear, I'm not a big fan of Jadeja. But what he does is he provides a handy left-arm spinners option for my team, which is mainly right-handers. And yes, he is a decent batsman to come in at number 7 and score some decent runs if required. My bowling attack would comprise of 2 overseas players and 2 Indian players. Sunil Narayan is a no-brainer for my bowling attack for the lead spinner's role. My lead pace bowler, again, there was a little bit of conflict there, but I chose to go with Lasat Malinga over Morny Morkel and Dale Steyn, which is, again, all down to how I feel would be the bowler would be used. Because I think
Do you think he's been figured out in this IPL?
a little bit, yes. A little bit, definitely. And more than being figured out, it's about the team just playing him out rather than going after him and scoring off the other bowlers. So his economy rate has not been affected that much, but his number of wickets that he took have been, because the teams are just trying to
Quite
play
a
him out.
lot.
Exactly. My other pace bowlers would be Umesh Yadav and Parvinder Ravana, 2 standout performers from the Indian contingent of fast bowlers, and I don't think there's any argument on those 2. And that's about it. That's my 11. But notable mentions to a lot of other players, except the other ones that I mentioned. There would be Shikhar Dhawan, Mandeep Singh played beautifully for Kings 11 Punjab. There's Steve Smith, Kevin Peterson, who did a cameo of 4 or 5 games or 7 games in the IPL and played amazingly well. There was
And I think that's where the Daredevils were at their peak.
Absolutely. There was Cameron White, there was Ashok Dinda. So a lot of good players in there who didn't make it to my 11. Sad for them.
Sad for them.
We'll hear from Parth now what he thinks about my 11 and what his 11 actually is.
I think I would have to say I didn't give as much thought as Sarthak has, but I've gone with my gut feeling. My team is basically players that I have liked, and it's not to form a particular formula or anything like that. And I think if this team plays Sarthak's team, I'm sure it would give him a decent fight. Maybe his team will win on the day. Maybe my team may turn out to be a CSK. You never know. The openers, I would say it will be Gale and Rahane. He went with Sehwag. I'm going with Rahane. Really impressive. Indian batsman, and I think one for all the 3 formats of the Indian team. Gambhir obviously makes the cut. Mandeep Singh, I was thoroughly impressed by him. I would say Punjab's best batsman, and given the fact that Sean Marsh wasn't up to his scratch this season of the IPL, it was certainly refreshing to see that actually Kings 11 produced, I would say, the best newcomer in this season of the IPL. Mr. Dependable for Mumbai Indians, I would say Ambati Rayudu. Very underrated cricketer. I think he deserves more Indian caps than he has, and he's been a champion for Mumbai Indians. A.B. de Villiers, I think the way he sort of hit Dale Steyn is just the evidence I need to keep him in the team. One of the best finishers in the game. For the all-rounder slot, I used one of my internationals in Jacques Kallis, simply for the fact that I like him over Shane Watson, and Sarthak and I have had tremendous arguments over it. But Shane Watson, I would say, is nowhere close to have the talent that actually Jacques Kallis has, and more of a big match player.
I would agree to that. Just to make a point that there no doubts about that. Callis is the greatest all-rounder of this generation, probably all generations. But when it comes to T20 cricket, and if you have to take IPL performances in particular, I would definitely rate Shane Watson higher than Callis.
Sure. Well, this is my team. That's your team. Now, the bowling attack is actually quite similar to Sarthak's. 3 of the picks at least are Avana, again another Kings 11 surprise this year, and what actually a brilliant surprise he was for a department in the Indian team that is always in demand. Umesh Yadav, I think pick of the Indian pace bowlers this year. Sunil Narayan obviously will make the cut. And I would go with Aaron. He bowled well enough for me to be in the team. And obviously, you are Dinda because he didn't play enough of the later matches. Would not be remembered as much, I guess, in my view. But the notable mentions in my team: Watson, Sehwag, Mahmood, Smith, White, Dhawan, and Ashok Dinda.
Beautiful. So yeah, let's hope your team doesn't have to play my team because you know who'd win. My team.
I don't know.
All right, guys, that was it for the IPL section. So moving on to our next segment, let's talk a little bit about the other international match going on at this point, and the other international series going on at this point, which is the West Indies tour of England, the Wisden Trophy.
Yes.
Very interesting. We were expecting a lot from West Indies. Currently, the score reads 2-0 in favour of England, with third match still to be played. But the way West Indies rolled over in the second Test match, reminiscent of their some recent performances. What do you think?
But honestly, they have played much better than I thought they will. It is actually early season conditions in England. The ball generally swings a lot, and their top order is basically non-existent. It's just their middle order has played exceptionally well, and I have gotten my Test cricket fix from this season and from this series, and I really admired the way the West Indies have fought back. They don't have the skills and the depth in the squad for them to be able to compete in two innings, but in one innings of both the Test matches they have done splendidly well and much better than I thought they will before the series
They
started.
haven't they? Like, I mean, you would expect only, say, a Shivnarayan Chanderpaul to be causing problems to the England attack. I mean, he did in the first Test match, both the innings, scoring amazingly well, consistent as he has been all over the years. But another man who actually stole the show was Marlon Samuels.
Yes.
I mean, first Test match he did pretty well, and second Test match also he came back with a century and a good 76 to finish off.
I think for a man who was actually untraceable after the IPL, he's done really well. The way he's actually changed his game from T20 to actually Test has been good. He's gone at decent pace, but has also made sure that he's frustrated and prolonged the West Indies innings more.
Absolutely, and then obviously the crisis man, Dan and Sammy, as usual, came in with some good cameos, getting a Test century.
First maiden Test century for him.
Exactly.
But still, I would say until and unless Bravo doesn't come back to this team, his spot, I mean, they need a genuine fast bowler.
Which Bravo are we talking about? Dwayne
Bravo. Until and unless he doesn't come back, they need another genuine fast bowler, and I don't think Sammy's bowling is good enough for them to win in England and take 20 wickets.
That's right. I think his bowling is, again, he's sort of a workhorse. For me, a lot of people have actually doubted his captaincy, but for me, I don't see him as a culprit there. He's done way more than what he was or what his skill set shows that he could. And he's come in at crucial times, scored fast runs, which is very important. At times people forget, like a 37 of 30 balls could do more damage than a 50 of 250 balls. So people forget that a quick fire 30-40 runs in an innings could be sort of take from mediocre total to a winning total towards the end of the innings.
And I think it's because of Sammy's good leadership and the man management skills of the new West Indies team. It's because of them that the West Indies have not completely fallen down as they have in the previous 3 or 4 years, and they have done much than I actually thought they were. And I think if this amount of fight was shown by India last year in the season, the kind of skill set India had, India would have actually at least won a couple of games. They have shown tremendous fight. Kemar Roach took 7 wickets last test. This test match has also been actually amongst the wickets. He's done really well. Probably their only shining light this second test, I would say.
Really important for Chris Gayle to be back at the top of the order, don't you think so? Like, I mean, their top order is non-existent, as you mentioned. With Chris Gayle there, it adds so much weight at the top of the order.
But it takes so much away from team spirit. It takes so much away from being actually following the game rather than being the only man.
I think it only takes a couple of victories for team spirit to come back. If Gayle is back in the squad and the team starts winning again, all will be forgotten and team spirit will be back. I mean, at least traces of it will be, and it'll probably take a little more time for it to be to the level it was before all the conflicts happened. But again, and Sammy has left the door open for Gayle to be in the squad. So I
He's
hope
back for the ODIs.
Yes,
Yeah.
I hope we get to see him in West Indies colours soon. And I think that's not only for the test matches, and I think West Indies is a big contender for the T20 World Cup in September. They have some of the most exciting talents available to them, to world cricket right now. They have Karen Pollards, they have Dwayne Bravo, they have Sunil Narine, they have Chris Gayle. I mean, what more could you ask for? Even 4 of these players. Andre Russell, yeah. So very, very potent lineup. If they can get their act together and perform as a team, very, very difficult to stop them.
I think one of the great, actually.
They're one of my dark horses for the T20 World Cup. I can put it down right now.
Yeah.
So moving on to our last segment for this episode, the moment of the week. And this week, for the people who watched the IPL finals would remember, was Mr. Ravi Shastri's birthday that day. But another member of the playing 11s for one of the teams that day, Mr. Michael Hussey, Mr. Cricket actually, was his birthday too on 27th of May. And Mr. Cricket turned 36 or 37 that day. Long time to be playing for, but he did make his debut a little later in his career. A very important member of the Australian limited over side, at least, if not test matches, because he's probably got off the boil a little bit. But consistency, par excellence in the shorter formats of the games, and definitely a big match player, as we saw in the final too. What are your takes?
I think if you were to say who would replace the tag of who would replace actually Michael Bevan?
Yeah.
It's the clear Michael Hussey similarity. You see similar kind of players, key match players, one of the more exciting talents to come in like the recent 10 years or so. And when he will end his career, he would not be in the pantheons of the Pontings, of the Tendulkars, but his talent was not short of any of them. It's just that he did not play as long, or he started late. Very, very good player for Australia in actually all the 3 formats.
Very important point you made there, that he hasn't played for as long, so he might not be up there, but talent-wise, there was absolutely nothing lacking there.
Yep.
And yes, as you said, I mean, if anyone was to come close to Bevan's role as a finisher for Australia, it would be Michael Hussey. I mean, the most important thing about players of that class is they put a very, very heavy price on their wicket, and they do not like to give it away for cheap. So even if the going is tough, they'll probably just stay around on the wicket, take a single or two, keep the scoreboard moving. May not go for the big shots, but they won't give their wicket away for cheap.
And I think very cricket smart. You know, he knows the field. He knows how to actually maneuver the field. He knows how to play mental games with the bowlers, and the kind of experience he has, it's just tremendous. And it shows that even if a batsman starts late, he can still make a decent name for himself in the world. And I would say, he started off as actually a leg spinner.
Had no idea.
Yeah, he started off as a leg spinner, and then he bowled to Hayden, and actually Hayden saw him play some actually drives, and then he said, "Why don't you convert to a batsman?"
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So again, something to learn always, every day.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So that was it from us in this episode of the Cricket Hotspot podcast. Do not forget to join us again pretty soon. We'll be back with a couple of very interesting interviews lined up, and we'll again fill you in on the happenings in world cricket. Do not forget to write back to us. Your feedback is always appreciated, and we hope to hear more from you.
Yep. Thank you very much, and hope you liked our IPL review.
Thank you, guys. Goodbye.